In order to get a clearer picture of space, we're going to send objects out into space to get information. I would like you to write this down. There are three types of objects that we send into space, and you don't need to write these down yet. But satellites, actually, why don't you? Satellites, space probes, and manned spaceships. So go ahead and write all this down. Three types of objects that we send out into space. Satellites, space probes, manned spaceships. If I'm going too fast, you can always pause. Let's start with satellites. A satellite is any object that revolves or orbits around another object. There are natural satellites. For example, the moon is a natural satellite to Earth. It orbits or revolves around the Earth. The Earth is a natural satellite to the sun. We orbit around the sun. There are man-made satellites as well. The International Space Station, or ISS, is a man-made satellite. It orbits around the Earth. We have lots of satellites up there for various reasons. I would probably write this down and I would underline orbit. An orbit is a curved path taken by satellites around an object such as a planet or a star. An orbit is a curved path taken by satellites around an object such as a planet or a star. So if you orbit something, you take a path, usually kind of circular, oval, around a planet or a star. Our sun is a star. You don't need to write this, but the Earth is a satellite to the sun, the moon is a satellite to Earth. Here is an orbit of Jupiter around the sun. Write this down. The first man-made satellite was the Sputnik, 1957, by Russia. What's the purpose of satellites? Write this down. What are satellites used for? To get a clearer picture of space. Okay, the Hubble telescope is a satellite because it's orbiting around the Earth. So to get a clearer picture. Communication. You've probably heard of satellite radio. Maybe you have a satellite dish for TV, cell phones. Satellite. You've probably seen GPS. Satellite. Those self-driving cars and tractors, it's all powered by satellite coordinates. So your phone, when you're looking for an address, okay, it's going to send a signal out to a satellite that's orbiting Earth, and it's going to find the coordinates and send it back to your phone and tell you where you're going. Weather satellites, you've probably seen these. According to satellite radar, or Super Doppler 5000, those are all satellite pictures. The second thing is space probes. Write this down. Space probes gather information and send it back to Earth. Basically, we send something out and it just kind of floats out there. Sometimes they do flybys where they float by a planet and take some pictures. Sometimes it lands. You've maybe heard of like the Mars rover. That was a probe that landed and it gathered information. It'll send the information back, but it won't come back itself. Examples, the Mariner 2, you don't need to write this, went to Venus. Pioneer 10 went to Jupiter. Viking 1 went to Mars. Voyager to the outer planets. Another Jupiter, Magellan Venus, Mars Pathfinder. Tons of them. Now, you don't need to write anything, but many of the missions that were planned, this kind of started in the 90s, were being canceled and scaled back due to cost. NASA has cut some serious funding and are doing very little recently because of the high costs. People might ask, why spend billions of dollars on these missions to Mars and the moon and things like that? Humans have always been curious creatures. We want to know what's out there. Another is fear. Is there something out there that we should be worried about, aliens or something? Protection kind of goes with that. You're always looking to advance science and find valuable resources. That is all.